We cut back to the clinic, where Bulkhead's brain is being scanned by Fix-It. Drift resists care from Minerva all the while. I'm fine. Bludgeon barely scratched me. Minerva maintains her calm and insists that Drift let her do her job regardless. She's significantly less high-strung than Ratchet had a tendency to be. Drift sighs and relents, lying back down on the bed. Bulkhead is less fussy.
What's the damage, Doc?
Not too bad, fortunately. Mindwipe must not have been in control for long. Most of his victims suffer significant processor damage, resulting in memory loss, slowed reaction time, and at times catatonia, among other things. But you, Bulkhead, I'd be shocked if you suffer much more than the occasional processor ache over the next couple of solar cycles. Days. Pardon, I'm still unaccustomed to Earth language.
So I'm good to go?
You're cleared for active duty, yes, though as your physician, I do recommend taking it easy.
Thanks, Doc.
Bulkhead stands up. He waits in the doorway for Drift. Well, Madam Doctor? Minerva ignores his sarcasm and continues some data entry. She says that his injuries are purely surface level. She patches him up and says that he's also good to go. Finally. Let's go, Bulk. Evac comes from the other operating room with Mirage and his physician, Red Alert, in tow. Unlike other characters who I intentionally had resemble movie-fied versions of their G1 selves, a la Bumblebee and Rise of the Beasts, or slightly altered versions of their Prime selves, which, let's be real, was mostly G1 meets films anyway in terms of aesthetics, Red looks more like a live-action version of his Armada self. Prime left instruction for the three of you. You'd report to Elite Guard HQ, to Ultra Magnus. Magnus? Why? He didn't say.
Optimus isn't saying much of anything lately. Started around the time he shuffled B off to his own team.
He's definitely acting weird. Did he ever say where he and Jetfire were before they swooped in to save my can? Not to me. Guess I better go to the commander's office then. The three of them make their way to Elite Guard HQ. They are met along the way by Prowl and Hound. They transform and enter the building. Almost all of Team Prime's here.
Except Hot Rod, RC, and Jetfire. This is officially bizarre.
The doors open and Ultra Magnus enters, accompanied by Cliffjumper. Prowl, Drift, Hound, Bulkhead, Mirage. Good. Follow me. Confused, the five of them fall in step with Cliff and follow. Cliffjumper looks just as confused as the rest of them. They enter Magnus's office. Optimus Prime has instructed me with informing you all of your new assignments. New assignments? Sir, are we being removed from Team Prime? In a sense. But why? Prowl shoots him a look. Sir? Prime believes that it's time to appoint one of you to his own command. He looks at Prowl. He's remanding these bots into your stewardship, Commander Prowl. Me? Yes, Prowl. Aside from myself and Evac, you are the highest-ranking Autobot left online, and the one with the most battlefield experience. It is, in my opinion, past time that you received your own command. But, Commander, what about Prime? Optimus Prime has already made arrangements for the new constituents of Team Prime. Hot Rod, RC, and Jetfire shall remain under his direct command, and he's taken on Cup, Blur, and Springer. To fill in your ranks, he's instructed me to appoint Cliffjumper to your command. Simply put, Team Prime has been far too large recently. 9 Autobots in a single team was ludicrous. Appointing Bumblebee to his own command was our leader testing the waters, to use a human turn of phrase. And since his former scout has proven more than competent on his own, Prime sees no reason that his first lieutenant should remain a subordinate. Congratulations, Prowl. Prowl stands in stunned silence for a moment. The other members of his team look at him. Cliffjumper clears his voice box and steps forward. It'll be an honor to serve under you, Commander. Yes, well, welcome to the team, Cliffjumper. That will be all. Dismissed. The new Team Prowl turns and exits in silence. I'm sure some longtime fans will recognize what I'm doing with Team Prime's new members and Optimus's distant mood, especially with the subject of the next movie in mind, but we'll get there when we get there. Next, we cut to the Ground Bridge Nexus again, where a familiar black and yellow Camaro is returning with his own team. This scene introduces us to Team Bumblebee, consisting, naturally, of B himself and primarily former KSI bots. These bots are named Hotshot, Smokescreen, Bluestreak, and Override. The one non-KSI bot is Brawn, who serves as Bee's main advisor and the weapons specialist. Basically, he's Bee's Ironhide.
Welcome back, Bumblebee.
It's good to be back, Wheeljack. Where's Optimus? He's usually here for debrief.
Prime's in the Spire still. His meeting with Director Witwicky just ended.
Carly's here?
Her, Chip, Lennox, and Cade.
We'll have to visit them after I report to Optimus. Autobots, roll out. Team Bumblebee transform and make their way to the Spire. On the drive over, we get a bit of a primer of their personalities from their banter. Smokescreen is aloof and kind of a jerk, but he's loyal to a fault. Bluestreak, on the other hand, is a particularly jovial fellow, reminiscent of Jazz's easygoing personality, though a bit more chatty. He's always got a joke or a kind word for a friend. Override is taciturn and impulsive, but every risk she takes is calculated. Hotshot is eager to prove himself, convinced that he's destined for greatness. One day, he's certain, he'll be an elite guardsman and on Team Prime. Maybe he'll even be a Prime himself. Brawn is short-tempered and no-nonsense. He's not arrogant or reckless, he knows just how good he is and that most cons are no match for him. He, much like Ironhide and Cup, is the epitome of an old bot in a profession where bots die young. And Bee is the same old Bee, just older and wiser. They arrive at the Spire and transform. As they enter the building, they are greeted by the voice of Teletran 2.
Welcome, Lieutenant Commander Bumblebee. Optimus Prime is presently in his quarters. Wait in the conference chamber, and I will alert him to your presence.
Thanks, Teletran. From there we cut to Optimus sitting alone in his quarters. His chest panel is open and the Matrix is glowing. We zoom in on the Matrix and see what Optimus is seeing. Images flash by. We see a glimpse of the Decepticons rallied under a single banner once more. Images of Starscream bearing a crown, the Autobots being scattered, and his own lifeless body lying in their midst. He sees a somewhat familiar body glowing with strange purple light, and the horrifying image of a massive planet-like monster approaching Earth. Yet among these horrific images, a glimmer of hope remains, as the Matrix glows in the hands of an obscured figure. Then the vision closes. Optimus snaps back to reality.
What does it all mean?
He ponders for a moment, flashing back to his days on Cybertron, long before the war. It is his first day as an archivist in Iacon, and he's being shown around the archives themselves. We see him standing beside Alpha Trion, in front of a large, glowing, nigh polyhedric orb. Transformers nerds will recognize this orb as Vector Sigma, the ancient supercomputer that contains the sum of all Cybertronian knowledge and that serves as a direct conduit to the Matrix itself.
The archives in the Matrix contain all the wisdom of the past, Orion, but Vector Sigma alone contains knowledge of the future. The last vestige of its creator, Vector Prime, lies at its core, granting it the ability to see all of time. At times, the Primes will be granted visions of the future. This is Vector Sigma communicating with the Matrix, telling its bearer of things soon to come. Yet these messages are often vague. Only by coming here and conversing with Vector Sigma directly can the visions be made clear. That, and speaking to Primus himself, well, that is far less simple or convenient. Many of the recent Primes have all but ignored Vector Sigma, but Sentinel Prime knows the value of its wisdom, and so too, I hope, will his successor.
Back to the present. Optimus is deeply troubled. He cannot gain knowledge from Vector Sigma as it is on Cybertron, and despite his best efforts, he has yet to locate where in the universe his home planet was flung after the events of Dark of the Moon. His brooding is interrupted by Teletran.
Optimus Prime, Team Bumblebee has returned.
Understood, Teletran. I will go to meet them.
They are already within the Spire, awaiting your arrival in the conference chamber.
Very well.
He rises and exits his room, still weighed down by the images that bombard his mind. He wonders how past Primes were able to ignore such visions. As he enters the conference room, Team Bumblebee rises to their feet.
At ease. Welcome home, Bumblebee.
We cut from the conference scene to Earth's orbit. The Death's Head appears from a strange vortex, completely unlike a space bridge portal. Lockdown investigates his instruments.
So this is the backwater planet Prime's been hiding on. Doesn't look like much. populated by carbon-based life forms. Disgusting.
Seems they found some way to shield their energy signatures. No matter.
A hunter always knows the best bait for his prey.
He examines the hollow readout of the globe and zooms in on the East Coast. He singles out the city of Boston and begins to land. Cut back to the Autobots. As Optimus closes out the briefing, an alert comes over Teletran. Optimus, Team B, Team Prowl, Hot Rod, RC Jetfire, and Ultra Magnus report to the control room, where Perceptor is manning Teletran. Optimus, we're receiving a message from Nest headquarters.
Put it through, Perceptor.
This is Epps. Optimus, a great honkin' ship just entered airspace over Boston. Looks like one of yours. The Death's Head appears on the viz screen. Most of the Autobots look at it in confusion, but Prowl clenches his fist. Ultra Magnus also appears to recognize it. It's Cybertronian, all right. Heavily modified, but definitely from Cybertron. But I don't recognize the make or markings.
It's Lockdown's ship. Lockdown? I know of him by reputation only. A dark reputation. Ratchet encountered him once. I know. I was there. And that wasn't the last time I crossed paths with that monster.
Who is he? A Decepticon?
Formerly. He used to fight for Megatron, but these days he's a freelancer. A bounty hunter. He's ruthless and completely immoral. That just makes him incredibly dangerous. Bumblebee, prepare your team for departure. Whatever Lockdown is doing here, it cannot be good.
Prime, I'd like to request my team join the mission. Your team?
Long story.
I know Lockdown better than anyone. You'll need more than 6 Autobots to take him down.
Permission granted. Attempt to ascertain his objective before engaging. Avoid collateral damage at all cost. I do not want another Chicago or Hong Kong on my hands. Good luck, Autobots.
The two teams roll out. As they do, Prowl has a flashback to a time before he was an elite guardsman. In those days, he was a simple security officer stationed at a medical center in Praxis, where a certain Ratchet was also stationed. One day, the medical center was seeing to a team of Autobots who were transferring a Decepticon defector who had information on a project Megatron was undertaking. The med center was attacked by Lockdown, who killed the informant and much of the staff, and took one of Ratchet's mods, an EMP generator, as a trophy. He would have terminated Ratchet as well were it not for Prowl's intervention. Though the informant was lost, Prowl's prevention of more loss of life earned him the notice of Autobot High Command, with Sentinel Prime recommending him for service in the Elite Guard. Prowl would encounter the Decepticon bounty hunter again just a matter of years later. The flashback closes as the Autobots arrive at the Nexus. Wheeljack activates the bridge and they arrive in Boston. Lockdown notices their arrival and prepares to land. On his readout is a souped-up muscle car. He has scanned his Earth mode. The ship descends and a ramp lowers. The Autobots watch as the bounty hunter emerges. He walks towards them in a manner similar to how he approached Optimus and Galvatron in the original AoE.
Figured my arrival would get your attention, though you seem to be down the bot I was looking for.
What is your business on Earth, bounty hunter?
Well, believe me, I wouldn't be caught dead on a planet like this without reason, though these beings do have impeccable taste in machinery. Wonder how I'll test out my new V-mode.
Again I ask, what is your business here?
I'm looking for your leader. My employers wish to speak with him.
What could you or your employers possibly want with Optimus?
And who are they, exactly? That's my business. Tell Prime to meet me here, alone, or I'll do something untoward with these flesh creatures.
You won't get a chance to do that, Lockdown. Not on my watch.
Have we met? Wait a minute. I remember you.
A panel on his left arm opens to reveal a strange cannon.
The upstart cadet with the acid launcher. I'm not too good with names, but I never forget a trophy.
Prowl bares his teeth and a second flashback plays of his second and last encounter with Lockdown. As a fresh cadet in the Elite Guard, almost finished with his basic training, he came across evidence of Decepticon activity. In tracking it, he found that Lockdown was on the same trail. At this point, Lockdown had defected from the cons and was selling his services to the highest bidder. The two clashed over their bounty, and Prowl was soundly thrashed.
Lockdown told him that he had spark, and so he was going to let him live, but not without claiming a piece for himself. He took what was, at the time, Prowl's signature weapon, an acid pellet launcher, in reference to his weapon from the G1 cartoon. Humiliated, violated, and having let Lockdown go a second time, Prowl was furious. And now, with the ex-Decepticon waving his past failures in his face, Prowl does something that he hasn't done in centuries. He loses his cool.
I'm going to make you pay for what you've done. To me, to Ratchet, to every bot you've butchered!
Prowl draws his blaster and opens fire on Lockdown, much to the startlement of his fellow Autobots. Lockdown is unimpressed and dodges the assault, transforming into his vehicle mode. Bluestreak, Mirage, and Hound are all struck by an EMP burst fired from his exposed engine, which turns into the stolen EMP generator. They are forced into stasis lock. Smokescreen lives up to his name and releases smoke, allowing the still conscious Autobots to move out of Lockdown's path. Bulkhead charges from the smoke towards the bounty hunter, who transforms. His arms extend outward and polarize, allowing him to lift Bulkhead into the air, a modification he stole from Windcharger. He throws Bulkhead into a building. Cliffjumper rains down ordnance on him, forcing him to activate a force field generator stolen from a mark whose name he has forgotten, but Transformers fans would know as Trailbreaker. These stolen mods make Lockdown one of the most dangerous opponents the Autobots have faced, especially the Earthbound ones and the KSI ones. Even Prowl is unprepared for the sheer number of upgrades at the former Khan's disposal. Smokescreen and Hotshot are down by grenades, fortunately avoiding the bulk of the damage. However, it is enough to incapacitate them. It's clear that Lockdown is attempting to disable the Autobots, not kill them. As evidenced by the prologue, he is more than capable of terminating multiple opponents in quick succession. As I write this, I get flashbacks to General Grievous and the Genndy Tartakovsky version of the Clone Wars. Appropriate. Eventually, Brawn, Drift, Bumblebee, and Prowl are the only ones left standing. Drift actually puts up a fight against Lockdown.
Metallicano Sigma, eh? Not many practitioners of that art left.
He catches Drift off guard with his own move.
Unfortunately for you, I'm one of them.
He knocks the robotic Ronin to the ground. Brawn tackles him while he's distracted. The Grizzled Brawler is the first opponent Lockdown has no answer for, as Brawl relies on his old reliable strength over mods or upgrades. The Bounty Hunter is forced to activate his EMP blaster again to remove Brawn from the equation. Bumblebee uses his stingers, but they have little effect. Prowl leaps in and starts pummeling Lockdown. His fury gives him an edge, but it is a double-edged sword. Lack of focus allows Lockdown to knock Prowl to the ground and activate the acid gun.
How poetic. Taken out by his own mod.
Lockdown launches the acid. Slow motion. Bumblebee leaps in between the blast and his friend and is struck directly in the chest by the corrosive pellet. He falls to the ground, his armor plating melting before Prowl's eyes. Lockdown sneers and approaches the fallen scout. Before he can deal the finishing blow, the ground bridge opens again and Optimus emerges. He decks Lockdown in the face and knocks him backwards. Drawing the Star Saber, he slashes at the bounty hunter. They have a brief duel, one in which Optimus gains and maintains the upper hand. Lockdown has no recourse against Optimus, and retreats back to his ship. Evac, Red Alert, Minerva, Fix-It, and First Aid arrive to recover the wounded Autobots. Optimus locks eyes with Prowl, who looks away in shame. As the Autobots retreat, Optimus glares up at the Death's Head. Lockdown prepares to fire on the city, but the arrival of the Ark-2 gives him pause. The Autobot ship, captained by Ultra Magnus, trains its weapons on the other ship. Lockdown chooses to cut his losses. He activates his intercom.
Optimus Prime, I give you one solar cycle to meet me at these coordinates, alone, or I'll blast one of these fleshling cities back to the Rust Age.
Coordinates are etched into the concrete by a laser, and the Death's Head evacuates Bostonian airspace. Optimus looks at the etching and at the destruction around him. Human emergency services arrive on the scene to deal with the collateral damage, and Optimus returns to the bridge. The Ark-2 turns around and heads back to the city as well. The Autobots are taken to the med center. Most emerge from stasis quickly, though Smokescreen, Hot Rod, and Bulkhead are in worse shape than most. Bumblebee took the worst of it, however. His inner workings are all but exposed, and his chest armor is little more than melted slag. Fix-It soon discovers that the damage is worse than it already appeared.
Frag me to the pit. Some of that acid got into Bumblebee's inner workings. It's corroding his vitals as we speak. Evac, we need to get him into surgery, now.
Minerva, Red Alert, go with Fix-It. First Aid and I will handle things here. Bumblebee is carted off as Optimus and Magnus arrive in the med center.
Evac, what's the damage?
Most of them will be fine. Hotshot and Smokescreen will need some detailing, and Bulkhead might need to replace a cog or two, but nothing too bad. Bumblebee's the one I'm worried about. That acid melted through his plating like it was made of human flesh. Thinks it has him in surgery now.
Do what you can, Evac. The room is yours, Ultra Magnus.
Optimus departs. Magnus turns to Prowl. See to your team, Prowl. Then meet me in my office. We have much to discuss. Prowl barely registers the order but acknowledges. Optimus returns to the Nexus.
Wheeljack, can you decipher these coordinates for me?
Will do, Prime. How are the others doing?
They are in good hands.
All right. Looks like these coordinates point to just south of Cape Cod.
Open the ground bridge, Wheeljack.
But Optimus, where does this lead exactly?
Lockdown's location.
What? You're going to meet him? Alone?
This ends here. I will not allow another prolonged battle to happen where humans are at risk.
But what if he slags you?
I do not believe that is his purpose in coming here. Now, open the bridge.
Yes, sir. The ground bridge opens and Optimus steps through. Cut to Prowl receiving a reprimand from Magnus. The city commander questions Prowl's ability to command, and Prowl admits his own doubts. Magnus says that Prowl and his team are suspended until he or Optimus say otherwise. Team Prowl meet up and commiserate. Prowl blames himself for losing his cool, but Mirage points out that they've all made mistakes. Prowl rebuffs that platitude by saying most mistakes don't put friends in harm's way. Optimus arrives at the coordinates. For reference, these next little segments are going on at the same time.
Lockdown! Face me!
The Death's Head decloaks and lowers its ramp. Lockdown emerges.
I have come along, but as you already know, I am not helpless. This much is true. Fortunately for me, I haven't been sent to take your spark. Then what have you come for?
My clients wish to speak with you, face to face, or well, faces. They have a matter of some importance to discuss.
Who are they, and what is this matter?
Come with me and you'll find out. Well, you'll find out either way. The real question is, will I find out how many EMP bursts it takes to pacify a Prime before you do?
The two stare at each other. Cut back to Autobot City. Team Prowler approached by Wheeljack, who tells them that Optimus has gone to face Lockdown alone.
Why tell us? In case you didn't hear, we're suspended.
If I tell Magnus, he'll just say that Prime knows what he's doing and tell me to forget it. But I have a feeling in my core that something ain't right. Last time it went off half-cocked, Bumblebee was nearly sent to the scrapyard. Pit take me, he might end up there anyway.
Whatever Lockdown wants with Optimus, it can't be good. You can't just let the boss walk into the scrap heap on his own.
Prowl contemplates for a moment. Fine. Bridge us there, Wheeljack. But strike it from the record so Magnus won't find out. They head to the Nexus. As they go, they are watched by Sideways. Cut back to Optimus and Lockdown, still in their standoff.
Do I have your word of honor that if I go with you, you will leave Earth and its inhabitants alone?
My clients don't tend to send me to this sector. Believe me, I was shocked to learn that the legendary Optimus Prime was holed up on this rock. Unlike Megatron or whatever other cons you've dealt with, I don't care about conquest or some cause. I only care about making a profit and getting the best upgrades. Believe me, I was tempted to take some from your men back there. That Energo sword would look nice next to the other one I acquired some time ago. Consider it an act of goodwill that I left them mostly intact.
Optimus clenches his fist as he thinks of Bumblebee.
Very well, Lockdown. I will go with you.
That's what I like to hear. But before we go, turn over your weapons, just as a safety precaution.
Will they be returned?
That all depends on the whim of my employers.
Optimus relents and turns over his rifle and sword.
That blade is impressive. Can't say I've ever seen anything like it. Though I heard tell that you had an axe as well.
My axe was destroyed in battle with Shockwave.
That's a shame. Well, time to go.
Back at Autobot City, Wheeljack inputs the coordinates. He wishes Team Prowl luck as they leave. They arrive just as the ship is preparing to take off. They quickly sneak on board as the ramp retracts, with a bit of comedy as Bulkhead nearly falls from the airlock. We get a scene of them similar to the one in AoE where the Autobots infiltrated the Knights Temenos. Many of the jokes in this scene were actually pretty funny, so I'll be keeping them, just adding Prowl, Mirage, and Cliffjumper to the mix. Back in Autobot City, Wheeljack closes the bridge. Sideways slinks away and activates his comm.
Lord Starscream, Optimus Prime has left the city, and it seems that he will be indisposed for some time.
Excellent, Sideways.
We cut to the Decepticon base, which is built into the side of a volcano. Starscream turns to address the crowd, which consists of Decepticons both familiar and new, including the final 2 Combaticons, Breakdown, Nightbird, the other KSI bots, Blitzwing, Astrotrain, Shatter, Slipstream, Acid Storm, Sunstorm, Thrust, Ramjet, and Dirge, among others.
The time has come, my Decepticons, to claim the final piece of the puzzle before we depart from this wretched planet and take our place among the stars. With this last gambit, we will prove to the other factions that we are the true Decepticons. We will show them our might and unite them all under one banner. Mine. I, Lord Starscream, first of my name, Emperor of Destruction, will lead you to glorious victory. Decepticons, transform and rise up!
The Decepticons chant "Rise Up" as they transform and begin to depart. Cut to Earth's orbit. Lockdown ship enters a wormhole tunnel. It emerges from warp. The camera pans towards a strange planet comprised of technology and organic matter.
We've arrived.
As Prime looks at the viz screen, his eyes widen.
Recognize it? Only from my nightmares. Are all Primes so dramatic? Why have you brought me to Quintessa, Lockdown? The Quintessans are our ancient enemies, all Cybertronians. Autobot, Decepticon, even your like. They enslaved us all. My only enemies are the ones who can't pay me enough. And believe me, no one in the universe pays better than the Quintessons.
The ship docks on the planet and is approached by an entourage of bestial transformers accompanying a strange tentacled creature that seems to hover above the ground. Fans of the franchise will recognize these robots as Alicons, the security detail of the Quintessons, and the one they are attending as a Quintesson prosecutor. The entry ramp lowers and the airlock opens. Lockdown and Optimus descend the ramp. No words are exchanged between the bounty hunter and the bizarre alien, as they make their way to the spire-like citadel that dominates the skyline. Strange biomechanical creatures mill in the streets, as do primitive transformer-like beings who seem to be of a lesser class than the cyborgs. Optimus glances at the city with disgust, seeing his distant cousins being mistreated. The entourage enters the Citadel, allowed to pass through the gates by more Alicons. More Transformers, these more akin to those we recognize, attend to various menial tasks in the Citadel, overseen by more odd, tentacled beings. One of the robots reacts in startlement to Optimus' presence and is struck by an energy whip held by an Alicon, demonstrating the Transformers' status as slaves. Optimus tries to intervene but is held back by Lockdown. The Prime glares at the bounty hunter. The entourage enters a massive chamber built over a pool of murky liquid. A massive dais stands at the head of the room, with a platform extended outwards over the pool. Standing on the platform is a non-Cybertronian robotic being, and seated, or rather hovering, on the dais are 5 horrific biomechanical creatures, each with bulbous, egg-shaped bodies, several whip-like tentacles, and 5 terrifying mask-like faces, arranged in a circle on all sides of their bodies. Another prosecutor stands just below the dais, and several elite Alicons stand guard. The prosecutor that attended Lockdown signals for him and Optimus to remain, as he and the Alicons take their places. The bounty hunter leans against the wall and watches the macabre scene before him.
Sit back and enjoy the show, Prime.
This one is convicted of trespassing on Quintessa's surface without authorization. It has been brought before your eminences in order to determine its punishment.
Please, great ones, I sought only refuge from the Decepticons. They conquered my homeworld, enslaved my people.
Decepticons. They have not been seen in this sector in stellar cycles, not since Cybertron went dark.
They have returned, and they war amongst themselves. Please, O magnificent ones, I seek only a place to shelter from these conquerors.
What do your excellencies decree? Guilty or innocent?
One of the judge's faces switches to an eerie, skeletal one with a greenish shade.
Innocent.
Relief crosses the robot's face for a mere moment, while a wicked smile crosses that of Lockdown.
Feed him to the Sharktacons.
Relief is replaced by horror, as a platform withdraws from beneath the prisoner's feet. He screams in terror as he plummets into the murky waters below. Monstrous shark-like robots emerge, bloodlust in their acid-green eyes as they lunge at their hapless prey. He is torn limb from limb in the blink of an eye, his tortured screams echoing through the judgment hall. Optimus can only look on in horror.
No. Justice has been served. Court adjourned.
The prosecutors and Alicons vacate the room, save for two that remain at their posts at the foot of the dais. The pit is covered up by a large trapdoor. One of the judges turns towards the figure standing in the doorway.
Approach, bounty hunter.
Lockdown and Optimus approach the dais. All five of the Quintessons fix their gaze on the Autobots, each displaying a different one of their eerie faces.
Welcome, Optimus Prime, to Quintessa.